Hello? Step back. I think everybody can hear me, correct? Everybody hear me? Okay. Good evening. I would like to welcome you to the League of Women Voters debate for the Town of Huntington offices. My name is Liz Dahlheimer. I am the president of the League of Women Voters of Huntington. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. The League never supports nor opposes any candidate for public office or political party. The League of Women Voters has been convening Meet the Candidate debates for decades. We take pride in conducting fair debates by asking each candidate the same question. This allows our audience to compare responses and hopefully become a better informed voter. I would like to welcome all our candidates and express our deep appreciation for their participation this year. Welcome to Andrew P. Rhea and Linda J. D. Valdez, candidates for the office of Town Clerk, as well as candidates for Receiver of Taxes, Jillian Guffman and Pamela Bellastegui. Close enough? Sorry. Finally, I would also like to welcome Jennifer A. Hebert, Donald B. McKay, Brooke A. Lucanacci, and Teresa A. Mari. They are all vying for 2 seats on the Huntington Town Board. Thanks also to Joyce Whitehead and Nancy Holliday. They will be receiving and vetting the audience's questions. Thanks also to our timer, Diane Slavin and Noelle. Sorry, so hard. Thank you also to the Huntington Chamber of Commerce. They have been a terrific partner in our drive to inform the electorate. Directly following my remarks, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Jennifer Cassidy from the Chamber of Commerce. Additionally, I would like to thank Walt Whitman High School for hosting this event as well as live streaming it. This will enable us to reach so many more constituents. This debate will be recorded and available for viewing on League of Women Huntington's Facebook page and YouTube. Finally, I would like to introduce Lisa Scott, President of League of Women Voters of Suffolk County. She will be our moderator. Lisa has moderated many debates for us. Her vast experience will no doubt make this an informative evening.
Good evening. If everyone would please stand, and I'll start us off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Some of us are not experienced in these mics, so apologies if you get moments of silence. But thank you, Liz, for the intro, and welcome to the candidates. The fact that you want to serve the residents of Huntington is wonderful, and you all look ready to go. The order in which the candidates are going to be asked questions is sort of sequential. So we have initially the town clerk, as Liz said. So the first 2 people will answer all the town clerk questions that have been submitted already. So I have those. If you have questions, these 2 ladies are the question takers. And the students will bring them over then, right? Okay, and but be aware, we're not going to hop back. So if we finish the questions, for example, for town clerk, if you send one by a student later, we're not going to go back to town clerk. So they will be done by office. And then while the questions are being asked, if a new question comes in, and just follow my logic, questions are based on issues or topics. So if we've already asked a question and some time has gone by and we're on another topic within that office, we can't go backwards and miss questions on issues we haven't talked about yet. So my job is to try to make a method out of this. And again, we'll begin, as we said, with town clerk. One candidate will answer the question, and the subsequent questions will cycle through. So in this case, Linda, are you all okay with first names? Yeah, okay, thank you. Linda would do the opening. Andrew would then do his opening. But immediately, Andrew gets question one, because we're having different people lead on the questions, okay? I guarantee, because I have vast experience, I will mess it up at least once. So feel perfectly free to get my attention, hit the noise button or whatever. But we do ask that the candidates follow the instructions, and you all know the rules. We'll go over them for the audience too. And let's continue then. For your opening statement, you will have 2 minutes. Okay, and that's your first pitch to the audience, both here and virtually as time goes by. Then we'll start with the questions. You'll each have 1 minute. You all got red cards, and those red cards are rebuttal cards. You only get to use them twice, and that means within each of the offices. For example, Linda and Andrew, you're going to demonstrate all this perhaps to everyone. But the idea is 1 minute can be a long time or a short time, depending on the issue in question. If you want to add a comment, you can for 30 seconds after the other person has already spoken in your office. But you can only do it twice. You have to think about what you want to do with it. The suggestion always is, because you'll have 2 minutes at the end, jot down things that you would have said if you had more time, and make sure you prioritize that. So that's your parting words to the audience as well. We have designated timers, as Liz said, to make sure you don't exceed the time requirements. You want to just hold up the signs so they can see them?
Really go over, we have.
Yes, okay. You may finish a non-run-on sentence, okay? So those are the time limits, so everyone in the audience understands it too. This is not about candidates yelling at each other. This is still a structured thing, because the only way people are going to understand what's going on if it's virtual is to follow it, and it starts jumping around too much. And again, you have that closing statement for 2 minutes. We talked about the audience questions. It can't be a gotcha question, a question only addressed to one person, or a derogatory question. This is not the time and place for that. So if it is, I can cut off the mic, but I won't, unless there really is something. Let's see, I also asked the audience, by all means, you may applaud after each candidate has done their opening statement, but then no more applause till the closing statements. And again, it's about time. So you clap a lot, fewer questions for the candidate in favor, so please don't. If you do, my job is to stare at you and get you to stop, okay? So it's all about learning from the people sitting up here. So I think without further ado, we can start. So for the Huntington Town Clerk role, Linda, you pull the first slot. Oh yeah, of course.
How many questions will we have?
It depends, because we may get some down here. There'll be at least, I think, 4 or 5 for the two groups here. For this group, there's probably more like 8 or 9, but again, it depends what comes in and how I combine them too. And the goal is to stop at 9, right? That boy is. Yes? Okay. Okay. So, Linda, do you want to make your opening statement, please?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Linda Davis Valdez.
It's my honor and my privilege to be here before you tonight. I am a long-time Huntington resident. I actually moved to Huntington in 1975. I know some of you sitting in here may not know me, but if you live in the Elwood community, you'll be very familiar with Linda Valdez. That's what I was known in the school, Mrs. Valdez, or Linda Valdez. My husband and I have lived consistently in that community for 30 years. We've raised our children there. We have 3 sons. They all graduated from John Glenn High School. I'm proud to say everyone's also graduated from college, and they're all doing well. I've served on multiple executive boards throughout the Elwood community. I was also PTSA president. I've been a church deacon in this town, Cub Scout leader, Sunday school teacher. I've chaired numerous committees. Also, I consider myself a freshman candidate here because this is the first time that I'm running for an elected position in town. Freshman candidate does not mean that experience. I have valuable experience that transfer directly to the role of town clerk. Now, I've done a little bit of research regarding the role of town clerk. I've contacted the controller's office of New York State just to find out some particulars. And the first thing that they told me is that the role itself is really about record keeping. For 20 years, I've worked in finance. I was a stockbroker. I held a Series 7 at 63, Black Accident and Health. And additionally, at one of the brokerage firms that I worked at, I was the branch administrator. And not the branch manager, I'll say that again, I was branch administrator. I hired, I trained, I supervised, I maintained records. Each time my branch was audited, it passed every audit. That shows that I can maintain records. For 18 years, I've worked within the court system, advocating on behalf of youth and their families. I've worked with wealthy people. I've worked with people who have no money. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Andrew.
Good evening. Please excuse my unique bow tie. I had spine surgery a couple of weeks ago, and although uncomfortable, I've never missed a league debate in my past 10 successful elections to public office. It's been an honor to serve as your town clerk for the past 4 years. By utilizing my 20 years of experience serving Huntington's residents in Albany as a member of the State Assembly and in Town Hall as your town clerk, I've been able to expand upon the town clerk's office's reputation as being one of the most efficient and responsive offices in local government. Every day there is news of a new cyber attack like the one that crippled Suffolk County and placed your identity at risk. As the custodian of your most vital records, including your child's birth certificate, your marriage license, and your parent's death certificate, I've implemented the toughest security measures to ensure the protection of your identity while expanding services available online. As the town's registrar of vital statistics, I'm on call 24 hours a day and personally respond to residents' concerns at all hours, day and night, and I routinely issue and personally deliver documents ranging from disability parking permits to marriage licenses after normal office hours and on weekends. When it comes to fiscal responsibility, I oversee the only department in Town Hall to voluntarily reduce its budget 3 years in a row while maintaining high-quality personalized services. Utilizing my experience and contacts in Albany as a former assemblyman, I secured $125,000 in state grants to restore access to the town's historic archives dating back to 1653 for people with disabilities, so everyone can enjoy the treasures in the Joe and Ray archives. I'd like to thank the League, of which I still believe I'm a card-carrying member, and for hosting this forum. I look forward to answering your questions. Thank you.
Okay, so now we flip who goes first. So Andrew, keep talking. And first question is, what are the most important qualifications needed for the town clerk and why?
The town clerk operates on over 100 different state and local laws. Experience is paramount. I have 42 years of experience learning, working in and around the town clerk's office. As many of you know, the Longest-serving town clerk in Huntington history was Joanne Ray. And I can remember conversations around the dinner table in 8th grade about the details of the office. And I actually helped my mom on a number of grants when I was in high school. So I know the ins and outs of this office. I actually left Albany during the pinnacle of my career to run for town clerk because it is the purest form of public service. That you don't have a vote on anything. You have to run a good office and be responsive to the needs of the town residents, and I know I've done that over the past 4 years. Thank you.
Okay. Linda, same question? Sure. What's the most important qualifications needed for the town clerk?
Besides my experience, and even my experience in brokerage and my experience working in the court, because I do think they're easily transferable, because it's a forward-facing position. You're dealing with people, and people to me are the most important because we're here to serve the people of the town of Huntington. Yes, we must maintain those records. The state gives us mandates that we have to follow, so that's easy enough to do. But when you're dealing with multiple personnel, well, not multiple personnel, but and you're also dealing with people of different ethnicities and languages and of different needs, it's very important to have wonderful people skills and to be organized, and I think I definitely bring that to the table.
Okay, thank you. The second question now stays with you, Linda, and that's what do you see as the role of the town clerk?
First of all, I think the town clerk's office is should be the center, the hub of town. Every important document is maintained there. I mean, as my opponent already said, the town clerk is the keeper of your most important vital records and the archives. So I think it's very important that we maintain the integrity of that information. And I'm probably sure I just totally lost track of what we were going, where I think I went to a whole different place.
Yeah,
But I think it's very,
right.
it's very important that we maintain your vital records and things like that because it has everything. It's your lifeline, and that's what we're here for, to satisfy the people. To make sure the needs are met.
Okay. Andrew?
Thank you. Linda's absolutely right. The town clerk you cannot be like I tell people, you can't be born, get married, unfortunately die, park a car, have a dog, and over 100 different things, permits that the town clerk's office issues. That's why I'm saying experience matters. Because if you walk in on day one and don't know all of those 100 laws cold, you're going to wind up breaking 6 of them by lunch. As a state assemblyman, I actually authored many of the laws that the town clerk's office must follow. So not only do I have unique experience both creating laws that impact the town clerk's office, I have that vast 42 years of experience learning about those laws and its impact on the town clerk's office. Thank you.
Okay. Linda? Let's see. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I told you, I've got to be careful. Andrew, you're first on the third question, which is, what are the biggest challenges for the town clerk?
There are many challenges. You often will have individuals come into the office that don't have the necessary identification to qualify to get a birth certificate or a marriage license, and we go out of our way to try and track down that information. Sometimes when you need a marriage license, you don't have a divorce agreement. We will actually go online and try and track that down. As our community, as our Hispanic community increases, I take in great pride in increasing the number of Spanish-speaking clerks that I have in my office to address those needs. So we, the town clerk's office, much like our libraries, we have to move with the times. And as times change, we have to be proactive in delivering the best and most efficient services and effective services to our residents. And that's why I don't work just 9 to 5. If you call, and every email you send comes right to my phone, my very secure phone. And don't be surprised if you email at 2 o'clock if you don't get a response at 2:05 a.m.
Okay, thank you. Linda?
The biggest challenges, I would say, is being able to meet the needs of all of the constituents that come into the office. And you do have to make sure that the technology is up to date. You have to make sure that you're able to go out and people have to know what you can do for them. And they have to feel comfortable coming into you to talk to you. So I just think that some of the biggest issues are making sure that people know that they're valued, making sure that they know that they can come into your office and that they're going to be serviced, making sure that they feel comfortable in asking you questions and that they walk out of your office feeling like they have been, helped and serviced. I think it's a big piece of making sure that we can meet the needs of the people that come into that office. I've actually spoken to residents when I've knocked doors who didn't have that experience. So as far as I'm concerned, it's making sure our residents feel valued is probably one of the biggest issues that we may have. And it all comes from the top down.
Okay, thank you. And now with you again, Linda, what changes would you make to the office of the town clerk to make it more efficient? What new technologies could your office implement to increase efficiency and save costs?
That's a very good question. When I was thinking about the office and technology, one of the things I was thinking, because there's so many different languages that people speak, Huntington is one of our most diverse communities. I'm not sure if the office already has something like this, but I think language lines will be very efficient. We don't just have Spanish-speaking community members that come into town clerk's office. There are a lot of other dialects as well. So I do think maybe looking into something like that would be helpful. But I would like to bring the town clerk's office out into the people, because the archives are amazing. I would like to be able to take that to the different schools and so many other things that I really think that we should be able to recognize as far as the town clerk. It's the hub, it's the center. The town and everyone involved needs to know more about what we do, and I'd like to bring that to the public.
Great, thank you. Andrew?
We already do most of that. Keep in mind, some of our documents in the archives go back to 1653, and they really cannot leave the archives. That being said, I do speak to classes all the time to talk about our rich history in the town of Huntington. But as far as forward thinking, we have an RFP that's just about ready to go out. Come January, you're going to be able to go online and never step foot in the town clerk's office for most of the things that you need to do. You'll be able to use a credit card and get those permits without having to take a day off and come on in. For years, the elevator in the archive center, named after Joanne Rea, the previous town clerk, has been broken, and they don't make the parts anymore. As I said before, I was able to secure a $125,000 grant, so now everybody can see the rich history that is the town of Huntington. And the list goes on and on and on. So I've been blessed to see the changes that my mother had made, and then we've been able to make a number of them new ones going forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we have one bonus question, which some of you have touched on already. So the town clerk in most towns is where people go to get something done. But how do they know what they may be eligible to do, something they didn't know they should do? From the simplest level to, I have a 200-pound dog, and the town I live in, yes, you're supposed to register, but nobody knows, so most people don't. So it's your turn anyway, Andrew, but yeah. Could you address that?
Sure. It's actually state law that you have to have your dog license, and you do want to have your dog license because, heaven forbid, it bites somebody, your insurance company is not going to pay for it. I kind of lost the question again.
It's about the dog.
Yeah, so how to get the information out there. I encourage everybody When you want to write to your town council people and your supervisor about a policy issue, even though the town clerk's office has nothing to do with policy, I encourage you to CC the town clerk's office, because then any of your concerns gets put onto the informational page, which you can see every month at the town board meeting. I like to say we're like the yellow pages. You call my office with a problem, and even if it's not directly related to the town clerk's office or even town hall, we will get you an answer to that question. And like I said, you send me an email at 2 o'clock in the morning, don't be surprised if you get a response at 2:05.
Okay, thank you. Linda?
Well, I think that goes back to something that I said earlier. I really think it's very important to bring the clerk's office to the people, whether it's to the school, whether it's to some of your committee meetings, or just putting information out online so that the public knows what the clerk's office does and what they're going to be able to answer questions. Yes, we know there's a town website and you can go on it and it says all the information about the clerk's office, but this is people, it's all about the people. It's people forward. We want to talk to people, we want to service people. And I believe that we should take the information where the people are. We should take it to the schools, we could take it to the committees. Whether it's Town Clerk Tuesdays or whatever, we can put something out so people know this is what we do and this is what we can do for you. Thank you very much.
Okay, and now you would get a 2-minute close. We have no further questions for them. So, Linda, you
First of all, I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you. As I said, I'm a freshman candidate, but that does not mean I don't have valuable experience. That does transfer over to the clerk's position. Like my opponent's mother, Joanne Rea, whom I have a great deal of respect for, she was a trailblazer, amazing woman, and as I said, I have the utmost respect for her, and I think I can carry her torch even further into the community. Why? Because I love this community, because I love the people in it, because people are important and I value everyone. And I don't care your race, your ethnicity, your religion, your sexual orientation or anything. And she was that same type of person from what I saw. She gave of herself, she gave to the town. She didn't wait for people to come to her. She went out to the community, and I can do that also. I've spoken to so many people recently who said she gave them their first job. Now their children have jobs in the community. Well, that's the type of town clerk that I would like to be. I want to go out to that community. I want to be someone that 20 years from now or 10 years from now, as they say, Linda Davis Valdez gave me my first job. And look, here's my son, I'm bringing him, or her, my daughter, to the clerk's office for a job also. That's who I am. I've always given back to my community. I volunteered, I held open houses and things that people don't know about, because I don't do it for me, I do it for everyone else. That's a part of who I am. That's a part of who she was. I value that, I respect that, and I can carry that torch in the same way that she did. Thank you so much for your time. I really respect you being here, and I appreciate it. It's the middle of the week, and I'm sure we were all tired. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, Andrew?
Thank you. I'd like to thank my opponent. Linda and I, it's so nice being in a non-policy making position, because we can just talk about our qualifications. And I've already told Linda we're going to have lunch or coffee after this election, no matter who wins or loses. I've been blessed to be elected 10 times to represent Huntington's residents. When it comes to protecting your most treasured documents and your identity, experience is vital. I have 42 years of experience learning and working in and around the town clerk's office, and I'm honored to be the only town candidate in all of Suffolk County to be endorsed by all 8 police unions, in addition to the Long Island Federation of Labor, AFL-CIO, and its over 160 affiliates. I'm proud of what my team has accomplished over the past 4 years, and I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't believe in losing. I either win or I learn. This has been a fabulous learning opportunity so far. And November 7th isn't here yet, so we'll see what happens. Thank you.
Oh, I know, I don't need to have the last word.
Okay, thank you both for offering your services again. And like you said, we look forward to Election Day. So that concludes
Do
the
we
clerk
stay,
part.
or do we have to stay here? or-
Don't you want people to recognize your face and name? Stay, like I say to the 200 dog, 200-pound dog, stay. Don't stay. Okay, so we're moving on to receiver of taxes. And the person going first is Pamela. 2 minutes.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for having us here tonight. So far, I'll look forward. My name is Pamela Velasquez. I am running for receiver of taxes for the town of Huntington. I live in Centerport with my husband Jeff and my 2 children, Nico and Bella. They are ages 10 and 7, 5th grade and 2nd grade. They're in the Harperfield School District. And I will start by saying that I am not a career politician, but I have dedicated my life to public service. I have a background in education. I was a teacher and school administrator for over 18 years. And I am currently the operations manager for my husband's wealth management firm, where I oversee a staff and team of advisors. I care deeply about this position because it aligns so well with my family values. My husband and I, a few years ago, started a nonprofit organization called Sonrisa, which means smile in Spanish, and we have outreach to the community where we're helping children and families in need, and it kind of aligns with why I'm running for receiver of taxes. And I'm looking at this as an opportunity to serve my community in another way. I know that my financial management background and my administrative experience are a perfect match for this role, and I'm really looking forward to stepping into this new space and making a difference. Thank you.
Thank you. Julie.
Thank you. I want to thank you so much for facilitating.
Yeah, give her 7 seconds.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. I just wanted to thank the League of Women Voters for facilitating this event this evening. It truly is a pleasure to be here. I'm Jillian Duckman. I'm the receiver of taxes for Huntington. I'm seeking re-election. The reason I love this town, I love Huntington, and I love serving the residents of Huntington. I'm committed to the effective and efficient operation of the office. Beyond the collection of taxes, there are many different components and tasks that are wrapped up in that process. All of that is primary, but another component of the position that I truly enjoy is being accessible to the residents, being responsive to the needs of the community. Paying taxes is one of the, other than going to the town clerk's office, because we all have to take care of our dogs and get to work via the train station and all of those exciting things that Andrew handles. But in addition to that, people come to town hall to pay property taxes. And I want to make sure that if they have other issues, I connect with them to facilitate addressing their issues. There's many different components of an individual's existence that we become aware of in the tax office, either a senior calling repetitively with questions, financial distress and so forth. Many, many ways that we're able to bridge the gap. I have great relationships with different arms of government and happy to connect with different departments in town, the county government, state, and if federal necessary, I can do that. I have broad endorsements, Long Island Federation of Labor, New York State Comptroller, who is the top fiscal watchdog for New York State, Local 1199, the North Shore Leader has endorsed me. I am committed to serving this phenomenal community that I love and truly want your vote. Thank you.
Okay, so So Jillian, the next actual question starts with you. And you get 1 minute now. What do you see as the most important qualifications needed for a receiver of taxes and why?
Well, you know, my life's journey has prepared me to be a phenomenal receiver of taxes. The challenges have helped because that's problem solving. By profession, I'm an attorney. I started as a prosecutor. I worked in the town attorney's office as an entry-level attorney, advancing to be the deputy town attorney. I worked in human services as the director of human services, concurrently with being the town's EEO officer, labor trainer, and now being the receiver of taxes for 6 years at the end of this year has equipped me with the ability to do the job. I have a proven record of having done the job. I've enhanced the office. I've stepped up the outreach, the professionalism, the responsiveness of the office. My record as the receiver has been that which has imbued me with the capability of serving the residents in the strongest fashion.
Okay, thank you. Emma?
I hear a lot that the receiver of taxes is not a policy-making role, but I will say that it is a decision-making role. And I see this role, there are 3 main qualifications, I believe, that would make a very good receiver of taxes. 1 is administrative experience, 2 is customer service experience, and 3 is understanding how to maintain the highest standard of fiscal integrity and stewardship for the town. So as far as administrative experience, a good leader, in my mind, good leaders serve first, and they understand how to collaborate and how to build a team. And in my experience as both a school administrator and also as a working in the wealth management sphere, that's an important thing that you need to leverage the strengths of your team to be the most effective organization you can be. Responsiveness as far as customer service and creating a carefree experience for people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, the second actual question revisits some of the things you talked about, but these were the initial questions, so if you'd like to add anything in 1 minute. And so that is, what in your prior experience makes you qualified? If you want to sum up something you said.
Sure, my mic is the one. So I actually have a doctorate in educational leadership and administration, and that has prepared me for a lot of the work that I have done, and it will prepare me for this job as well. But I specialize in organizational growth, team development, process and system analysis, which is really crucial for this role, looking to see what is working and what is not working, understanding that this is all about systems and processes, and I have a very good strength in that area. Also teaching. I am able to, that's one of my big goals, is to have community engagement, presenting information in an easy way for people to interact with, for people to find and engage with. So I spoke a little bit about team development and the importance of a team. This office, you have civil workers that are there, a deputy, it's a team of people. I will be working alongside that team in the trenches with them to really maximize the productivity and the efficiency of the team. So thank you.
Thank you. Jillian?
I'm a team player. I'm there early and I leave late. I ask no one to do something that I wouldn't do myself. And my office is filled with employees that take their job seriously, that love serving the community, whether that's a matter of the attitude at the top, trickling down, or their predisposition being that of service and pride in their work, I can't say. But they're phenomenal, and I'm committed to serving. My door is always open. My approach to serving the community is one of complete accessibility. So I can always be reached, And I think that orientation allows the office to thrive. As the Director of Human Services, which I maintained that position for 10 years, I had over 50 employees that I supervised. Now the challenge is not so great because we're understaffed.
All right, so it is now, Jillian, your turn to start the next one, which is, what are the biggest challenges for the receiver of taxes in the town in the coming year or two?
Okay. The biggest challenge is the town's antiquated intelligence. By intelligence, I mean the technology. It didn't happen overnight. It took quite a bit of time for that to occur. But the IT infrastructure is so outdated. So one of the things that I've been really interested in doing and working on is improving our online platform. We did research and we've contracted with an entity to improve the online processing, and it is stepping up. It is going to be better, and it's better already a little bit, and it's going to move further. But we're still kind of limited in what we can do because of that IT infrastructure. So the town board, I believe, is entertaining an effort to advance, and as that improves, we'll be able to do even more.
Okay, thank you. Pamela?
I do agree with Jillian that there are outdated systems and technology in the office that can be improved upon. I will say that there are speaking of the technology, there's also an integration that has to happen with the other departments, with the assessor's office, the comptroller's office. And I know the town, it has been several years since the town has invested in any kind of computerized infrastructure to update it and bring it up to a more modern system. There are two other big challenges. One is people waiting in long lines to pay their bills. It's unacceptable, and I plan on not having those long lines. The second big challenge is the lack of information that's available. I know the question went to the clerk candidates. There has to be more of a presence on the online interfacing with people. It's the way people get their information today. So not even just in the tax receiver's office, but across all departments, the technology has to be enhanced.
Okay, Pamela? Yeah, 30 seconds.
Long lines, we have 75,000 parcels of property in Huntington, and if you elect to pay your property taxes in person, and you decide to do it in a peak time, at a peak time of the day, you're going to have people online. But the lines move quickly. The workers are expediting, I'm expediting, it moves quickly. So there might be people online, if you come to pay your tax bill January 10th, you'll get a long line. But, you come earlier, you won't have that circumstance.
Yeah, I figured you would.
Well, I just want to say, I know that from speaking to several people that have knocked door to door, there are lines, and sometimes people have gotten even turned away after a certain hour. There are so many ways to remedy this. Even just bringing people physically into town hall. There's a space there for people to be at least inside the building. There are ways to create satellite locations around, especially south of 495. We can also have, there was a couple of years ago with COVID, we used the bank parking lot to drop off a bank check. So there certainly are ways to remedy that rush, whether, and also, of course, offering late days and late hours. But a big piece of that is also moving the line faster, optimizing and maximizing the scanning technology that is used. Actually, me, as the receiver of taxes, physically doing the work of receiving the taxes, and also encouraging more people to use the online platform. So that would be my goal, is to get as many people using the online system to reduce down those lines.
Okay. And one more question, and then we'll get to the closing statements for both. there's a lot of misinformation about the taxes, and every town handles it a little differently. Most have a little pie chart, so does the league, where the money goes, where it goes. But a lot of people still think that the town and the receiver of taxes is the one. So that's half the question. The other is, and I didn't get a chance to ask the people to your right about this, but they brought it up slightly. With the hacking the entire Suffolk County system, and it took months and months to recover, and it's still not really recovered. What do you propose, or what are your concerns about better educating people about again, security of information, like in the clerk's office as well, and about taxes in general, grieving, all of this? So in 1 minute, you can answer that. And that'll be, yes, Pamela.
I spoke to this a little bit about education, and it's a primary piece of my platform. I am looking to have free workshops for people across an array of topics in collaboration with the assessor's office, maybe even the clerk's office, and these would be on all the topics that people are interested in hearing more about. Of course, using the online, interfacing with people online is really important. And as far as the security, we need to have a more modernized system to strengthen that security. Yes, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, Julie?
Well, information changes everything, and one of the things that I'm really proud of is my outreach in the community. So not just the one-on-one conversation that I'm amenable to having with any resident that calls. Often if they call the office, I'll pick up the phone. But my door is open. Beyond that, to reach people on a wider scale, I have done and I continue to do presentations in the community, whether they're in libraries, community groups, religious groups. I am connected with the community, I'm accessible, and I am always happy to share information. I've done that with regards to grievances, just meet your tax receiver, various exemptions. Information is power, and I do want people to have the information. With regard to cybersecurity, what happened with the county was a huge issue. And that impacted the towns and impacted our office as we relate, because we are connected. The comptroller's office and the tax offices are they're significantly in communication with the tax warrant.
Okay, thank you. Yes, 30 seconds.
Thank you. I do just want to speak very quickly about the customer service piece connected to information. In my current role as operations manager for a wealth management firm, a $1 million firm, people call in and they ask questions and they want answers quickly. And I'm really good at figuring out systems and processes to keep track of service work and items, and I think that's a really important piece that's missing right now to have the greatest responsiveness that we can to the taxpayers. So it's not just about having it, but also getting it to people as fast as possible.
Okay, Julie, you're good?
Okay, I'm
Yeah, okay. All right, and closing statements then. So, Jillian, you first.
I close by saying, serving as the receiver of taxes for Huntington has been something that I have taken tremendous pride in. I give totally of myself in the execution of those duties. I take pride in the relationships that I make with the residents and the shared experiences or challenges that people feel comfortable sharing with me, and using the resource of information that I've had during the various positions that I've had in my professional service, either as an attorney or as the Director of Human Services. Beyond that, the importance of being a receiver of taxes and having that fiduciary responsibility. Our tax burden in Huntington is over $1 billion. It's a lot of money that we're asking residents to pay, and I feel that treating residents with the respect that they deserve, collecting and being professional in that collection process, and being able to execute all of the duties associated that correctly, efficiently, is paramount. I am proud of the endorsements that I've received from the Long Island Federation of Labor, from the Union 1199, from Tom DiNapoli, the New York State Comptroller, from North Shore Leader, and I'm sure others to come. I'm proud of the record that I have. I am proud of my service, and I think that we have so much more that we can do, and as the IT infrastructure is improved in Town Hall, we will do even more. So thank you so much for allowing me to meet with the community here, and thank you.
Thank you again for having us here tonight. I wanted to say how grateful I am for just this experience. Just the campaigning experience is one of, I've learned a lot, and I've really enjoyed meeting most of you in this room, but thank you for this opportunity. I want to acknowledge that this is one of the hardest moments for many of us, just not here in Long Island, but across the nation. And you know, gas prices are going through and inflation's rising, and so many of us are experiencing hardship, and paying our taxes is one of the most burdensome things that we have to do, and we have to do it. And I really know that I can make that experience, paying your taxes, as carefree and hassle-free as possible. I wanted to tell a story. My son, he's 10, he's in 5th grade. He is really a great kid, and he ran for student government. And he came running home and he said, I won. And I said, well, at least one will last that he will be in government. So that's good. But I come back to why I'm doing this. And I'm doing this because it's an example for my children. Just to be engaged in this political process is really exciting. It's a new one for me. And I love learning new things. I know there's always a learning curve when you get into a new position or role, but I see myself as a lifelong learner, especially as a teacher, and I'm excited for this. I do want to say that connected to that hardship, you know, there's so many things that can be done to reduce the cost. Our credit card payments, just as a little example, we can get that down. It's one of the highest here in Suffolk County. We pay 2.85 just to pay with the credit card. We can get that down to 2% at least, and also a $1 e-pay check instead of 2. And I just want to say there have been 115 receiver of taxes for here in the town of Huntington, and I hope to be number 116. So thank you.
Okay, thank you both, and we'll move on to the town council. In the order in which you're sitting, Teresa, Brooke, Don, and Jen. So, Teresa, your opening statement, 2 minutes.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Teresa Mari, and as you know, I'm running for Huntington County Council. I was born and raised here on Long Island, and I moved to Huntington 30 years ago, and I've never looked back. I love Huntington, I love the community, we have the most amazing beaches and restaurants. And in my career, I'm an attorney, and I've always had my own business, small business, and that makes me very familiar with any of the issues that deal with small businesses. And I know we have a lot of small businesses in our community, so I am available and ready to help work with them on the issues they have. I'm also very community-minded. I've done a lot of philanthropic work as part of my career. I have dedicated my career to advocating for the most vulnerable children in Suffolk County. And I also work for indigent parents. So I do a lot of work in trying to help those people and the children in our community. I'm also, a person who's a proven leader. I was the president of the Suffolk County Women's Bar Association, president of the Matrimonial Bar Association, president of the Huntington Lawyers, and I've been a leader in various charitable organizations. One I'm most proud of is the Charitable Foundation for the Bar Association, wherein we raise money for children. And during the pandemic, I used a lot of that money to find out what our first responders needed and to make sure that they got the money they needed. I'm also a fighter. I'm a person who is a breast cancer survivor, and I fight for my clients. I'm a mediator, which is a skill I believe can help me work with people, especially when we're working in places like the town hall and the government. It's important to me to work on stopping local development, holding the line on taxes, being sure that our beaches and our parks are clean and that our community is safe. I'm accessible. I will be accessible to our community, and I'm hoping that I'm to lead in the words. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brooke Lupinacci, and I am running for a seat on Town Council. By way of background, I am a dedicated public servant. I have dedicated my entire career to public service. In fact, it's really been dedicated to protecting you, the community. My career started nearly 20 years ago, where I was appointed as an assistant district attorney in Suffolk County. I served in that capacity for a decade. 8 of those years, I earned recognition for prosecuting felons that ripped off taxpayers, bookkeeper, embezzlements, Ponzi schemes. I also was a prevailing wage prosecutor as well. My other 2 years was misdemeanor level work, where I earned recognition for prosecuting bias crimes, graffiti, and other, a plethora of other things that are found within the penal law. Thereafter, I decided I wanted to diversify my legal knowledge, and I went over to the town of Huntington, and I continued my public service in protecting the community in capacity as an assistant town attorney. I was there for 7 years. I helped draft legislation, combat blight in the community, and now I'm Director of Labor Relations, where I oversee workforce and labor management for the town, workforce of over 700. I think it's worth noting that I am a lifelong Huntington resident. I was born in Huntington Hospital. I'm a 4th generation Huntingtonian. I'm now raising the 5th generation. I have 3 boys in this community. I maintain that if elected, I'm going to be bringing a skill set to the board that's never before been seen. I have a unique skill set, as I've outlined to all of you. On day one, the question won't be how do we do this, it will be how are we going to get this done? Or when will we get this done, rather. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Tom McKill. First, I'd like to thank the Women Vocal Consultation. League of Women Voters for hosting tonight's event. It's critically important to hear our views before we head to polls on early voting next Saturday and then November 7th, election day. I was a little quick about myself. I was born and raised on Eaton's Neck in Northport. Went to Northport High School, graduated in 1983, went on to college in West Virginia. Returned home after that with a degree in communications. I started out my career as a newspaper reporter. I worked 10 years covering, started out covering town of Brookhaven, Islip, and Huntington. And then I moved up to Saratoga Springs, where I worked for a daily newspaper for about 4 years, covering the city of Saratoga Springs and also Saratoga County government. I came back home and worked 4 more years working on another newspaper where I covered primarily town of Huntington. And after that, in 1998, I joined the town of Huntington. I joined the staff of then Councilman Steve Israel. I came downstairs to work with Frank Petrone when Steve went to Congress. I worked a couple of years as a town spokesman. And then after that, I was fortunate, very fortunate, to replace one of our greatest public servants, an outstanding gentleman, Emerson Boozer, when he retired as Parks Director. 2018, I switched gears and joined Suffolk County, where I presently remain as the Deputy Commissioner of the Suffolk County Parks Department. But my campaign, my theme is kind of based on the fact of going back to where I started as a reporter. I think that is, right now, we need someone with the mentality of a reporter on the town board. We need someone to ask tough questions, scrutinize spending, and I hope we get into some things tonight on that with the budget, because right now it's not being asked, and we need to have checks and balances. It's imperative that we have it on this town board. Thank you.
Okay, Jen?
Hi, everybody. My name is Jen Hebert, and excuse me, I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you for hosting this wonderful event. So, I am a lifelong Long Islander as well. I was born and raised on Long Island. My husband and I met at Tufts University and decided to move to the Huntington area because he's a man from Maine. And when we decided to move back to Long Island, we were looking for the most New England town on Long Island that was still close enough to my parents. So that's how we ended up in Huntington, and it's been a perfect match for us. You know, Huntington is really lucky in that you have 4 solid candidates here for your town board. And you know, we've all had experiences working with our community and trying our best to be a benefit to our community. So I'm just going to take this time to just, I think, you know, speak to what differentiates me from everybody else. I have a proven record of having served the community really effectively as a very strong leader, but also a very innovative problem solver. So I served 9 years on the school board in Huntington School District. And I got on the board at a time that was really divisive in our school district. One of our neighborhood schools had just closed, and with that building shuttered, it was causing a lot of problems in our school district. We were very divided, we were overcrowded, and we had cut a lot of staff members. And it caused a lot of division and a lot of hurt feelings in our community because there was a part of our community that really felt like the school district had turned their backs on them. So I literally got on the school board to help solve that problem, and we did. With my help, we managed to reopen that school, not right away, but the following year after we had done a lot of research and spoke to all of the stakeholders and included everybody in the process, and we got that school reopened as a STEM magnet school, and today it's one of the best parts about the school district. I also ran a local nursery school for 9 years, right through the pandemic, and we came out on the other side. So you're looking at somebody who's really good at representing community and is really looking to do my best by all of you. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we'll start with the first prepared question, and Brooke, you'd be the first to go as we round robin. What are the most pressing issues facing our community this year? How do you think you can help address or solve these problems?
Well, I think there's no question when I'm out and about and talking to the public that there seems to be 2 things that continue to emerge, and the first is overdevelopment. You know, the community by and large has had enough. They've spoken very loudly, they've come to town board meetings, and expressed that they no longer want to see any more projects. They feel that there's a lack of transparency. So if elected, my intention is to take a deeper dive on what happened with the master plan. How and why are we not implementing it? It needs to be updated for sure. And I definitely have every intention that if and when a project is proposed, that there's informational sessions given to the public, and that there's transparency all along throughout the process. There shouldn't be, as what I'm calling, almost a cycle of outreach. You know, people show up at town board meetings and they feel as though the wool has been pulled over their eyes, and I think a lot of that can be cured with some information, and I think that we need to get the input of stakeholders before things get as far as a public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Don?
Yeah, I would agree with Brooke that right now we're knocking on doors that development. But where I contrast with my opponents, and I came up Monday, before I say this, I want to make sure that people understand, I mean, absolutely no disrespect, I'm just putting out facts out to enjoy your own conclusions. But right now, there are none of the developers in this town, architects, lawyers, that are financially supporting my opponents substantially in their campaigns. They're paying for these commercials on TV, where they go out and they tell the community how they're going to protect Huntington from becoming a Queens, but they're being bankrolled by developers and their lawyers who want to turn Huntington into Queens. I am opposed to these developments. I don't want to downzone properties from R40 to R5 and put 120 units like we have at Park Shore, which is actually 180 on Deer Park Avenue near my house. But the lawyer for Deer Park for that development is substantially supporting my opponents financially. So I've had nothing from them. I have received an endorsement from the Sierra Club, so just draw your own conclusions.
Okay, thank you. Jen? Oh, let's go around and then you can take turns with the rebuttal.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
So I agree with my, the people that are sitting at the table running for the town board. I think that overdevelopment is one of the major issues. But truthfully, I think an issue that we all share is that we want to keep our taxes low and we want to keep our property values up. And I think that the overdevelopment affects that, but there are other aspects of things that affect that too. Our water quality is going to affect that, where we rely greatly on our water because it brings in tourism, but it also keeps us healthy. It also is for recreation. We also need to make sure that we're maintaining the charm of our town. That's honestly why I moved here. Like I said before, we were looking for the most New England town, in the area, and that's what drew us to Huntington. So I really want to focus on anything that's going to help our taxpayers remain in Huntington and live a really good life here. And if that means finding consolidated services with villages, or if it means cutting some of the waste that maybe Fresh Eyes on that budget will find, those are the kinds of ideas that I like to do. I'm not looking to put a Band-Aid on problems. I want to look at long-range solutions. Thank you.
Teresa?
Yes, I agree with almost everyone who spoke here about overdevelopment. That has been a very big issue, and I've walked through many, many houses, and that is clearly a big issue. And I agree that what has to happen is we need to educate. We need to educate our community. We need to work with our stakeholders before we put plans in place. I agree that I'm not in favor of plans that are for downzoning, significant downzoning, and that would be something that I would oppose, and certainly want to work with the builders and our town board to know that that isn't happening. Again, we've had some of these meetings where people don't feel like they're included. So I would want to make sure that we work on making sure that people are included and they feel included in the process. It's super important that we make sure, like I said, education, whether we have some of the people on the civics communities meeting with our board and the builders prior to anyone coming up with final plans.
Brooke. Thank you. Don, you brought this up once before. I just want to assure the public that I have been completely transparent as far as my contributions go. I can say the same for my running mate. I have to say, I sit before you as an officer of the court, as a former assistant district attorney, and I can tell you absolutely that I do not have a price tag. In fact, I would argue that the inference that's being suggested says a lot more about your character than it does about mine, that a couple $100 could buy an influence. So again, I just assure the folks at large that there is no price tag.
Okay. I will honor your, but what we really want is to address the questions, all right, the public, but you most certainly can use your rebuttal. So Teresa, did you want to respond?
Yes. Yes, again, very briefly. Yes, Mr. McKay has brought this up, and I also want to assure the public that I cannot be bought. Most of the contributions for lawyers that he's talking about that have to do with me are from matrimonial lawyers that don't even live in Huntington. So the fact that there's an insinuation that, again, that we can be bought is insulting. And, I am a big believer in I can work with people, and we have to work together on the board. And my concern would be things like some of the comments that Mr. McKay has made at board meetings, and and the ability for all of us to get along.
Okay, yes, Mr. McKay.
First of all, I showed up at board meetings. Both my opponents have not attended a town board meeting since last year, maybe last year, but not since we announced our candidacy. I'm not saying anything illegally or impropriety. It's told what their contributions they received. And I'm not questioning their character and integrity. It's totally 100% legal, what money they accept. But it just goes to, in those stories, the Indian Hills Golf Course. The Republican Party, the planning board grants some permits to put 80 units on the property. And then soon, before the permits issued to build the houses, they have a fundraiser there, a big cocktail party celebrating. The next day, what a surprise, bulldozers come in. After their fundraiser, bulldozers come in and plow up.
Again, you can each use your rebuttal one more time, but I want to keep reminding you that what we want to do is address community issues. You campaign on whatever you want to campaign on, but the purpose tonight is to get it off your chest if you want to, but then let's move on. Because in fairness, I have to give everybody a chance, and more of that means less of the other questions. But you covered it, and I think hopefully you're satisfied with having some response. Okay, but thank you. Okay, Jen. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Don, you start with this next one, which is, what safeguards would you think appropriate to maintain order and civil discourse during town hall meetings, short of closing the meeting? Came from here.
Well, first and foremost, I mean, it's the town board. We need to do everything we possibly can to protect freedom of speech. People do have a right. And growing up as a kid, my dad always taught me to respect those you disagree with, respect the you can argue, but you always got to respect them. But I mean, they do have rules on quorum. I know that in town board meetings in the past, the one meeting on the housing, on the ADUs was, there's a lot of comments there that were, I believe, that were unnecessary. But it's tough. I mean, you got to balance between a person, a right to speak. But if a person gets out of hand and is vulgar, or that obviously that needs to immediately stop and then be escorted out. I mean, in the past, I've worked for the town, and we have had speakers have been escorted by Suffolk County Police. So there are policies in place, but it's again, we just have to make sure that we balance where we deal with protecting people's freedom of speech.
Okay, thank you. Jen?
So probably one of the best lessons I ever got from my mom, and actually it was an answer to one of those questions in that Patch interview, what's the best advice you've ever received? My mom taught me, you always lead with diplomacy. And so that's who I am. I may disagree with you, but I am not going to come at you. I'm a straight shooter, and I will tell you what I think, because I do have a backbone, and I'm running for this position because I'm somebody that feels strongly that I have something to offer, and I'm not afraid to offer that. But I always lead with diplomacy. My record on the school board, having worked with many, many trustees who sat on all different sides of the aisle and had very different perspectives. We always worked productively together because we were respectful and we always pulled in the same direction. One thing I would suggest as a hopefully future town board member is that when an issue comes up that's really important, that's going to be an emotional issue or a passionate issue for the community, I think that they need that as a town board, you break that meeting off and you hold it separately from the regular general meeting so that people don't feel frustrated that they didn't have a chance to have their say. Thank you.
Thank you. Teresa?
Yes, I have attended many of the board meetings, and any of the ones that I couldn't, I watched on television. But I really think one of the ways to maintain decorum is to make sure people have advanced information. People need to be educated about what the issues are. If they're educated about what the issues are, they're less likely to come into a meeting all heated up about things that maybe weren't intended as part of the issue that's being presented. Having listening sessions so that people know what it is and are not just looking at the signs that are being placed around by people who are opposed to an issue or for an issue, and which gets people excited and worked up. I do think that obviously there have been issues. Decorum is extremely important. I've always been a person who rises above. I was brought up to be respectful. I will always be that way. We hope that people will be that way as well. But I do think it's important to educate them. It is important to listen to them. And, advance notice is always the best.
Okay, thank you. All right, Brooke.
Thank you. Yes, I mean, I just have to say quickly as it relates to meetings. I've been at more town board meetings than I can count. In fact, arguably over the last 9 years, I think I saved for maybe a handful. I've caught almost everyone. But anyway, I think to answer your question that as it relates to having a productive meeting, there needs to be, rules of decorum. We do have those rules of decorum in place. I think that for the most part, many of our town board meetings have been civil and productive. To Jen's point, actually, I was going to raise that I do think that some of the issues that if elected as a town board member, I anticipate is having people very exercised or drawn a large volume of people so as to prevent any further frustration. I do think that moving to an off-campus location, for example, years back there was a meeting that was anticipated to be quite large, and I think we went to one of the local high school auditoriums, and I think it worked out quite well.
Okay, thank you. Jen, you start the next one. Almost 2,000 residents of Eaton's Neck are affected by the collapsing seawall at Bevan Road and Esheroken Avenue. Flooding and being cut off from the mainland jeopardizes the residents' health and safety. Do you see the town supporting seawall repair using state and federal government funding?
I would support the town at least putting forth some of the funding that would help that Bevan Wall, because that's a serious issue, and if that fails during an emergency situation and there's a loss of life because of it, it's going to be too late at that point. So in terms of a town board member, nothing's more important than the safety of your community, right? I mean, that's thing one that we should be trying to do, is making sure that this is a safe and healthy community for all of our residents. And if that particular community is affected by this failing wall, then yes, I do think it's within the town's purview to address that and to help finance some of that, the rebuilding of that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Teresa?
Yes, I agree with that. It's very important that we support the failing seawall, not only to protect the residents, their property, their person, but also to protect our water. That water, as it floods, and it reaches into our harbors, the water becomes unsafe. So I think it's extremely important for us. It's one of the major issues for us here on Long Island. Pretty much all of us are waterfront. We can get to the water in a few minutes from anywhere we live. So protecting the water, protecting our residents, making sure the seawall is safe, and to protect our residents is very, very important. And yes, I would support also the getting propositions to get the money to be able to do that, to make sure we're keeping our water safe.
Okay, thanks. Brooke?
Thank you. Yes, I'd absolutely be in support of trying to find ways to, rehabilitate the seawall. What I can say, actually, I am married to a PE who does supportive excavation and bulkhead design. So the issue, of course, is that these things are tremendous amounts of money to rehab. That being said, we do need to find a solution for the seawall for the residents that are there. That being said, to answer your question, I absolutely would be looking into ways to avail ourselves of state and federal money.
Okay, thank you. Don?
As I previously mentioned, I was born and raised on Eaton's Neck. Here's the problem with this issue. The Army Corps of Engineers, there's been, the town has debated the issue, trying to solve this issue for far too long. They have press conferences, photo ops, meetings, need to stop that. The issue with the Army Corps of Engineers, the Army Corps of Engineers will provide money, federal money, that require public access. In other words, Esheroken, because the seawall's in Esheroken needs to provide public access to their private beach. They have declined to do that. I support that. I believe there's space. But in the federal law, there's an exemption under the law for public safety. The seawall is strictly a matter of public safety to protect the 700 residents of Eaton's Neck and the United States Coast Guard Station. That is critical. So it comes down to the town, and where the town is lacking is that the residents of Eaton's Neck have not had a strong enough advocate to advocate for them, the state, the county, and most importantly, the Army Corps of Engineers. When I'm elected, I promise I already met with Eaton's Neck community that I will be their advocate. Again, I was born and raised there, and I will be relentless to solve this issue with the Army Corps.
Okay, thank you. Jen's done. All right, the next question starts with Teresa. And that is, the Brookhaven landfill will close next year, or maybe a bit after. Composting of organic material is a proven method to reduce the amount of organic waste going to our incinerator. Would you support starting a composting project for Huntington, perhaps in cooperation with other towns? Or do you have any other proposals to reduce solid waste within the town?
I do think that I absolutely would support composting. I think, anything that we can do to limit, and to take care of our solid waste issues is important to our community. Right now with the landfill closing, we know that we have to find other alternatives. And one of the things that has been proposed is that the ash is now going to be transported south, probably to Pennsylvania. And there are transfer stations that they're talking about in Smithtown as far as getting the garbage off Long Island. So I'm in support of anything that's going to help us limit our solid waste, so that we don't have these issues again.
Okay, thank you. Brooke?
I'm going to echo the sentiment of my running mate, Teresa. I would be in favor of composting, and I would love to explore any other innovative ways to try to reduce or mitigate the damaging effects that could come with the landfill closing.
Okay, thank you. Don?
Yeah, obviously composting is a great idea, but the golden question is where you're going to put it. Years ago, the town of Huntington actually did compost leaves down we was down by Spagnoli Road in Melville. And it was a disaster for the residents. It was, the smells were ridiculous, and town basically forced to shut it down. So obviously doing compost is good for the environment, but the biggest issue coming up, Brookhaven landfill shut down. The town of Huntington's ash goes there. So the question is where we're going to get rid of this ash. They want to build a transfer facility down on Town Line Road. I believe it's what they're proposing there is too big. It's all going to be for C&D, which is construction demolition debris. It's just too big. It needs to be scaled back. The concept of shipping ash and CD off Long Island by rail, that's a noble idea. It's a good idea. We should be moving that direction, getting trucks off the road. But it's a very complicated issue. And a long time ago, there was an idea of getting all the towns together. It's called multi-town. They were going to build like this incinerator, and so everyone's going to get together, Brookhaven and Islip and Babylon. And there was a lot of talking and so forth. They had committees and meetings, and it just fell apart. But it's probably something that the town should explore working together on a regional basis.
Okay, thank you. Jen?
So I agree with what Don is saying. It's a problem that all of the towns and townships on Long Island are obviously facing it all at the same time. And so to partner with these other municipalities and try to come up with a really good solution, I think is our best plan. I would add, though, as a person who actually does backyard composting, I have backyard chickens, my husband is a beekeeper. You're looking at a person who's a very environmentally conscious person. I've switched over to bar shampoos. I try not to use anything that's single-use plastic. So what I would say is we need to find some innovative programs that not only find where we need to put our waste, but that literally reduces our waste. And there are some states that are doing some really exciting things by way of that. In Massachusetts, they incentivize not creating so much garbage by charging you per bag that you go over whatever the allotted amount of bags are. Now, don't write me angry letters because I'm going to charge you for your garbage. I'm just proposing it as one innovative possible solution to our problem that is a real problem on Long Island. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Brooke, this one starts with you. What do you see as a reasonable step toward increasing affordable housing for young working families, the elderly, and veterans who want to stay in this community?
Again, I hate to harp on it, but I think that all roads lead back to the master plan. I mean, there's an affordability component that's mandated by the state. We have it in town code, but it all comes back to how do we problem solve instead of piecemealing things and issues as they come up. How can we solve this on a macro level instead of just affordable component versus how much density versus what type of housing? I think that it's very important that we get the experts involved to figure out the best way and the best solution for our future. And I maintain that the affordability component is that as well.
Okay, thank you. Don?
Obviously, affordable housing is absolutely a critical issue in our town. To get young workforce, keep workers here on Long Island. When they graduate high school and college, we got to keep them here. It's critical for our economy. But the big question in Long Island is affordable housing is number one, the cost of land. It's a primary obstacle. Building these units, the land is so incredibly high. But I think that we should, years ago, the town did a project that I think was a great model. It was the Highview down at the train station where the town owned the property, community development agency, and they worked with a not-for-profit housing organization. And they brought in a developer, and they worked together, and they built that Highview, which is it's a great affordable community, and they were able to, get those units for a very reasonable price, 200 grand, something like that. So I think that the government can provide land at the state or the county or on the local level. That takes away a huge obstacle, but it's absolutely critical to get this. So when I have a story, but I have time about a Millville firefighter met, great story. And we need to do more, and especially firefighters.
Okay, thank you. Jen?
So we absolutely do need to find some way to offer more housing because we're doing a great job of educating our kids and we all spend a lot of money on it living on Long Island. That's where a lot of our property, a lot of our taxes are going. And yet they go to college and they get a great education from us. They head off to college and then they can't find a place to live here. And so they move out of state and take all those skills with them. And that's a mistake. We want people of all different ages at different stages of their lives in Huntington. We want to be welcoming for everybody. So we need to find ways to offer some more diverse housing that would, like you're saying, suit young people who are just starting out or an older couple who wants to downsize but still stay in our wonderful neighborhood. My suggestion would be to partner with the developers. We need to make it attractive to them to want to help us with these projects because it's not going to be as financially attractive to them as putting up, much more expensive properties. But I think that there are developers out there who really are invested in our town in the way that they want to see the community improve too. And so I would reach out to them and see if we could come up with some solutions.
Okay, thank you. Teresa?
Yes, I agree that it's important to partner with our developers because we do need affordable housing here on Long Island. We need places for our veterans, we need places for our young people, we need places, for our seniors. We need, and I agree with my running mate that, the master plan is a good place to start. So we need to do that. We need to start looking at that, and we do need experts. We need experts to help us because one of the frustrations that we hear from people in our community is they want to make sure that anything we build fits in the character of our community. And that's so important to our residents, and we need to be considering that. The other issue is how expensive it is, as Mr. McKay pointed out, to buy land, our taxes. So we have to have some experts involved so we can figure out the best way to have that diverse housing, that housing that enables our older community, our younger community, our veterans to have places to live in our beautiful town, and make sure that it works for everyone.
Okay, thank you. Don, this one starts with you. Northport Harbor is silting, reducing the flushing of the harbor and the quality of our waterway, and endangering the local businesses that depend on the harbor. What would you do to address this issue?
The dreaded word of dredging. It's a long-standing issue in the town of Huntington. It's imperative that not just Northport, but all the harbors, Huntington, Centerport, that those bays and harbors remain navigable for our boating community and public safety. But the question with dredging is, first of all, the town doesn't have a dredge. The county does the dredging. They have a county dredge, so we need, push on our county lawmakers to get that dredge material and equipment up to Huntington. The biggest issue with dredging, when you dredge, where are you going to put the stuff? They'll dredge spoils. Where are you going to get rid of it? And the one thing that I think the DEC should be aggressively pursuing now is studying if we can use the dredge spoils to dump them once they're dewatered, to put the dredge spoils on the Brookhaven landfill. They're going to need to cap and close it. It's going to be a huge project. They're going to need cover. And I'm sure you read Newsday that there's a lot of nasty stuff going in there, so I'm hoping that the DEC should conduct a study immediately to see if we can take these dredge spoils from Huntington and use it as cover for the Brookhaven landfill. I think that will be a great disposal location.
Okay, thank you. Jen?
I can't do much better than my running mate here answering that question. I think he's exactly right. It's not just a matter of the dredging, it's a matter of where those spoils go, and that's really the biggest piece of that. So as a town board member, I would make sure that I was always advocating to the county to make sure we were on their schedule for dredging. But I would also be willing to take time to advocate to wherever I needed to go to, get the support and help that we needed to address the dredging and where the spoils were going to go after.
Okay, thank you. Teresa?
Yes, again, we
we're all echoing that sentiment, that dredging is important, and the spoils are a problem. So where they're going to put them is an issue, and I imagine we need to have our experts look at that and tell us the best places to put them, or how we can, make sure that we're not polluting any other areas. One of the things that I know that they've been trying to do in our waters, when you say it affects other businesses, is, our fishermen. So I know that, we need to make sure our water is clean, we need to reduce the nitrogen in our water. And our actual community in Huntington has been very active in that, in terms of with the oyster beds and the sea kelp. The oyster beds, produce more oxygen, and actually they say they clean like 900 gallons of water a day. The sea kelp puts more oxygen into the water, and then they take the kelp and they grind it up for fertilizer, natural fertilizer, and give it to the residents. So there's a lot to making sure that, and those things help, also our fishermen.
Okay, thank you. Sure.
Yes, so to echo really now what everybody's been saying about the dredging is very important, but practically speaking, I mean, if you're talking about it, my understanding, because it's 60,000 cubic yards of material that is the spoils that then need to be dewatered, which is a whole other process. At one point in time, I know the town was looking into doing that at Phragmites. The DEC, I don't think, was totally on board for that. But the bottom line is, again, it comes down to the dollar and how do we fix this. I think that it's imperative that we work with the state and the federal authorities, entities rather, in trying to problem solve this issue with DEC and EPA.
Okay, thanks. The next question is Jen. What is your plan to improve public transportation, traffic, and parking within the town of Huntington? You knew it was coming.
In 1 minute? Okay, well, unfortunately, Long Island is really, we're largely a commuter, suburban, car-driven society, and people are not willing to give up their cars to ride public transportation. If we had better public transportation offerings, they would consider it more, but at this point it seems like most people are really, kind of tied to their cars. I happen to live right outside of Huntington Village, so I know all about the traffic, particularly in that part of the town. I have been saying for years, since they redid that parking lot in back of Panera and put 3 additional spaces, all at the expense to the taxpayers, that they should have made the parking lot somewhere in Huntington. And my husband's a mechanical engineer, and he and I have talked about this extensively. That would be a half level down and a half level up, and therefore would not be really intrusive to the eye, but would absolutely give us the additional parking that we need in Huntington. That's particularly important over by the Paramount, where those neighbors are experiencing a lot of trouble from the spillover from the Paramount customers there. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Teresa?
Yes. Obviously, traffic and parking is a huge issue in our community, and I know that there's been discussion about, taking, for example, the Ellis property and making it into a parking lot. One of our supervisor, Smith, had talked about that idea quite some time ago. The problem is who's going to pay for it. It's a very costly process. It would probably cost $15 to $20 million to put it in. And how do we pay for that? So that's, we need to work with our local businesses. We need to work with, some of the developers. And, we have developers that want to use public parking when they put in apartments. That's a problem as well. So we all need to really work together to try and resolve this issue. I don't know that there's a simple answer, but I do know that our town board is working to try and figure out those problems, and I know as a town board member, I would work with that as well. Okay, thank you.
Perfect.
This is definitely not enough time to answer a question like this, but what I can tell you is that I had occasion as an assistant town attorney to work on actually grants relative to all of these issues. We have a robust transportation and traffic safety department that works hand in hand with the FTA. What I can tell you is that we do have the hard bus system. I do understand in recent time there's been an increased demand from our seniors at the senior communities to have some smaller buses. That's something if elected, I'd like to look into to help our seniors out through the hard bus. As it relates to parking grants, I successfully applied for and received on behalf of the town multi-million-dollar parking structure grants. However, this is akin to the development issue in that when there was some talk about potentially putting up these structures, a lot of the community came back and they weren't much interested in seeing a parking structure. So this is certainly an issue that needs to be addressed. If elected, it's one that I want to look into. As it relates to parking, Mr. Clerk, don't be mad at me. Sometimes I think it'd be a nice idea to perhaps introduce a parking pass for town residents and business owners.
I don't have anything to do with it.
Okay.
Talk to the town board.
Don.
Anybody can solve to reduce congestion on Long Island, the Long Island Expressway, Golden State, because I think you got a statue. It's probably one of the most difficult answers. I mean, what comes to mind quickly is, carpool, they discuss carpooling, you want people to ride bikes. I mean, some of this stuff is a little bit unrealistic. It's, noble, and you want to try to achieve that and so forth. But, you mentioned hard bus, obviously. Huntington is probably one of the very few municipalities in Long Island that has a municipal bus service. Possibly expand that. It's all based on federal dollars. It's expensive. It's a very expensive operation. The other thing is making our communities more walkable. If we can somehow make it safer for people who live closer to the villages to make it, I met one gentleman who was near Huntington Village, and he was complaining about the fact that he would walk to Huntington Village, but getting there, crossing over streets and so forth, it's too many obstacles, it's dangerous. So if we go work with our traffic safety, our dedicated employees in town hall to do that, we can try to make our communities more walkable, so people living out further outside the village can walk instead of taking their cars.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
Thank you, 30 seconds, I'll take it. I just wanted to agree with Teresa. We need to stop letting the people who are putting up property, developing properties in Huntington claim these spaces over in that, public lot and these spaces behind them as spaces that go towards their projects. The other thing, though, I wanted to point out, and you're right, these are expensive projects you're talking about. As a town board member, then I wouldn't have wasted our money on putting up a parking lot that was exactly the same as the parking lot that was there before. And I certainly wouldn't have replaced the meters that had just been replaced several years before with more expensive, really hard to use meters. I will look out for your tax dollars.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Teresa, this one is yours, and this is the last question. Okay? Right? Okay, and then you're close, the 2 minutes at the end. How would you improve the accessibility and availability of social services in Huntington?
Of social services in Huntington, I guess again, most of what I think needs to happen is education. People have to know what services exist. If you're talking about social services, I assume what services are available in the town, correct?
That's the question.
The services that are available to people in our town. I think if that's the question, then it's really education. It's reaching out to people. It's making sure people know what is available. And I think that's like the most important thing we can do is just make sure that people are aware, that they're educated, and that we're reaching out to everyone to make sure they know what's available for them.
Right.
I wish I could have a little more clarification on the question, but I think just to give a general answer, as it relates to people and wanting to avail themselves of services that are potentially available to them, again, I do think that information is key. Our residents need to know what they can avail themselves of as far as it relates to towns, town-provided services.
Okay. Don?
Oh, now it's mine, turn it off. Again, the town, when I work with the town, the town does have an extremely dedicated staff, senior citizens and youth bureau and so forth. They do a tremendous job. And again, the town's senior center is probably a role model in the state. But making people, again, it all comes down to awareness, making sure that the seniors, know what's available to them, because the town does offer a number of great services, especially providing transportation, as Brooke mentioned, to for doctor's appointments, getting food, and so forth. You know, again, if I like to the town board, you know, do whatever I can to create and enhance that awareness. To make sure that people, maybe work with doctors' offices, you know, do some kind of PR campaign, awareness campaign, let doctors know that, you know, make some kind of pamphlet to let the seniors know that the services are able to do that. And the senior clubs, you know, we have a number of senior clubs around Huntington.
Okay, thank you. Jim?
Yes. So since the pandemic, we've been in a really tough place, and I think there's more of a need for social services and some safety nets than we've ever had before, at least in my lifetime. So it's especially important that, as everybody's been saying, the community knows what kinds of resources are out there available to them. When I first got on the school board, we were having issues roughly the same way, that people didn't know what was available to them. They didn't really know what was going on in the school buildings, and it was really important to us that we let people come in and see what was going on. I would suggest the same thing for the town hall. I would say, you know, when we were on the school board, we invited in groups of realtors, and then we invited in groups of parents, and then we invited in groups of clergy. I would do the same thing at town hall. I would invite in groups of stakeholders who could come in and take a tour of the town hall and meet the different people that head up the departments and let them explain to these groups what they have to offer. And that way these people could then take it back to their stakeholders or to their congregations or to their, truthfully, as a school board member, I would have loved that invitation and I would have taken it in a heartbeat. So I would hope to do something like that.
Okay, thank you. So closing statement, since there are 4 of you, we're doing it in the same order as the start. Okay, so Teresa, 2 minutes.
It's going first, right? As I had stated earlier, I'm an attorney. I am someone who takes education and leadership very seriously. And as a member of the town board, if I'm elected, I certainly will make sure that I am someone who is reaching out to my town, making sure that I'm accessible, making sure that I'm available to make sure that education and everybody is educated about all the issues in the town. I am a fighter, as I said earlier, and I'm a mediator, so a person who works well with other people. And we do have a very dedicated town. We have very dedicated employees who work for our town. I want to be able to work with them to make sure that what we do, everything that we do in our town makes sense. I want to be able to work with our town board and our constituents to make sure that everyone, all the stakeholders feel included, that everyone feels that they've been heard. That's what's so important, education, being heard, and making sure that we, as board members, listen to our community and try to effectuate things that are best for our community. You know, we watch our, you know, I want to hold the line on taxes. You know, we said earlier, urban development is such a big issue for our community. And I want to make sure that whatever we do build in this town, you know, stays in the character of the community. I love this town, as I said earlier. I moved here 30 years ago. We have the best people, the best restaurants, and, you know, I can't imagine living anywhere else. I keep looking at the timer. I just want to, I know that I can lead well, even though I'm not one of those people who've been in public service most of my career, in private practice, and I've had to deal with many issues, so I know how to deal and work with people. And I want to thank you all for listening to us tonight, so thank you.
Thank you. Brooke?
Thank you. And I just want to thank the League for putting this together tonight and all of you for being here and listening, and those of you out listening to this virtually. You know, as I stated when I opened, I do believe that if elected, I can bring a never-before-seen skill set and unique perspective in a board member. As stated, you know, I have the public service experience. I have 9 years nearly in the town, knowing the inner workings of it. So, as I had said, you know, I can get to business right away. Additionally, I'm coming to the board as a woman who has school-aged children. I'm very invested in the future, in the generations. I'm raising my kids here for a reason. I love this town. And I'm also proud to say too that, I have several endorsements from the North Shore Leader, Long Island Fed, the Building Trades Commission, Laborers International Union of North America, CSCA, the Italian American Political Action Committee. I bring that up because I think that it shows my demonstration to the public, to the people, and I'm really excited to have the opportunity, if I get the privilege of representing all of you. Thank you.
And I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and also the Chamber of Commerce. I understand co-sponsored this event, and also the folks at the Whitman High School for providing the space. Appreciate it. Again, the one issue we didn't touch on today, which is it's an issue that the Democrats and Republicans actually agree on, and it's the issue of having a 5-0 one-party majority on the town board. Years ago, when Democrats were 5-0, Republican Party ran on 5-0's got to go, and they won. This year, there's potential for a 5-0 Republican majority. And talking to people, I believe it's not a political issue. I believe it's an issue of good government. I believe that having a balance of power, a balance of checks and balances on the town board of a two-party system is critical. We need to have people looking over one shoulder, making sure things are being done in a narrow, and also dissenting opinions. Tough questions are asked. If I'm elected, I assure you I will fulfill that role. Again, I'm a former newspaper reporter. I have that experience. I have 25 years of service, public service in the town and also the county. So I have extensive knowledge of how the government works, how budget operates, how union operates, procurement, a whole bunch of issues. But most importantly, I think it's my public service career is being responsible. I view myself as, I can always try to be fair and be responsive and solve community problems. And that's what I've done throughout my career, and I think that's probably one of a very important role of a town board member. And I will, if elected, if I'm fortunate to be elected, I will continue that, be responsive and accessible to the community throughout our great town.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all for showing up here tonight to find out about candidates. It's really nice of you to take your time to do that. Excuse me. The politics on the national level is obviously very divisive right now. We're a divided country. People have really, gotten tribal about it. But at a local level, it doesn't have to be that way. At a local level, I wish, truthfully, that party politics weren't even part of it. I wish that you were just expected to vote on the best candidate, that you were just, free to go out there, do your homework, listen to what everybody has to say, see where we stand on the issues, and then make your decision based on that. And I truly hope that that's what you'll all do here tonight, because quite frankly, I'm really confident, and all due respect, and I'm sure they all feel the same way, but I'm really confident I'm the best candidate up here for you. What I'm telling you is, I'm an independent thinker, I am solution-oriented, I'm fearless. I served on the school board during a really contentious time, so while I look friendly and smiley, actually, I'm kind of made of metal on the inside. And I really, really want to do this job. I really want to represent you. It's a dream job for me. I plan on giving it my all. I actually would work it as a full-time job, and I know not everybody's in the position to be able to do that. But it does differentiate me that I plan on working full-time as a town board member, even though it's really a part-time job. And in that way, you would have my full attention and my hard work and, truthfully, my integrity representing you, because that's the thing I'm most proud of, is that I have a lot of integrity. I'm a straight shooter. I don't say it if I don't mean it. Just like Dr. Hsu said, I mean what I say and I say what I mean. That is me. So I really would be honored with your vote, and I hope you'll all turn out for election day.
Well, I have to say, as an outsider to Huntington, you are all impressive. All passionate, you're all eminently qualified for your positions, and I hope this even explains your positions a little more. It's the tip of the iceberg, I know, but the town is very lucky to have really passionate people.